All right, I want to welcome everyone to the Islip's July Town Board meeting. This month we celebrate our nation's heritage and independence. So as we commemorate our freedom and the birth of our nation, let us have this serve as a reminder of the importance of unity and respect for one another and the need to end whatever divides us. So please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance as a reminder of these values. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We just have a few brief announcements before we go to the hearing and the agenda. I just want to remind everyone about our summer fun series. It's in full swing with movies and concerts. Every Monday are the movies and concerts every Wednesday. Just check the website for the exact locations and what particular bands are playing. They're the perfect summer night out with friends and family. Free admission, free parking, courtesy of the sponsorship of Catholic Health and Good Samaritan University Hospital. We're very grateful to them for that donation. The Youth Bureau's annual school supply drive is in full swing. We're collecting donations for families in our community. All kinds of school supplies. I mean, you know the drill. Get the list that the teachers send home and you'll know what they're going to need in their backpacks. They can be dropped off, the donations, at Town Hall at 655 Main, which is where we're seated now, or Town Hall West at 401. We're also very proud to announce that our newly launched recycling pilot program has already demonstrated measurable success in boosting local recycling efforts, showing promise for future expansion town-wide. Some of the results so far: an average weekly paper collected rose from 5.36 tons to 6.65 tons a week. Paper diversion rate increased from 2.8% to 3.5%. These gains reflect a 24% increase in just 5 weeks since the program's inception. So they're very encouraging. It's a good sign that this can deliver real tangible results, not just in the pilot area, but across the town. It offers more structure because it's weekly and you're not 1 week bottles, 1 week paper. It just is a lot simpler. So we're very happy about that. And any information that you need, just go to the website, and that's about it. So let us get to the agenda. We have 3 scheduled public hearings. And I would ask the clerk to please read the first hearing notice.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Item number 1, to consider amending the Islip Uniform Traffic Code.
Are there any questions or comments on this particular hearing? Hearing none, motion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing, offer the resolution for its adoption.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Closed and approved. Next hearing notice, please, Madam Clerk.
Item number 2, to consider entering into an airline use and lease agreement with Hyannis Air Service Incorporated, operating as Cape Air.
No one has signed to speak on that hearing. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, motion? Thank you, Councilman. A motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved. If you would please read the third hearing notice.
Item number 3, to consider the adoption of proposed local law 2 of 2025, amending Chapter 50A of the Islip Town Code entitled Office of the Town Board.
Thank you. We do have someone who has signed up to speak on this, Jerry Athenis Bennett.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Athenis Bennett. a lifelong resident of West Islip and a proud retired 30-plus year employee of the Town Attorney's Office. I spent a good portion of those years preparing the agendas you use. I am here to register my opposition to moving public information from the Supervisor's Office. There are graphic examples where the supervisor has taken numerous hits from media inquiries that no one else wanted to touch. It makes much more sense to me to continue this current practice, and that whoever is the supervisor, they speak with one voice for the town. For example, of recent memory, the illegal dumping at Clementi Park. Is there any member of the council who would have liked to have been the spokesperson for that illegal fiasco? They would surely have been blistered. Old-timers will remember Hubbard Sand and Gravel in 1995, which covered the media for months as it burned on Fifth Avenue and Bayshore at a cost to the town then of over $1 million. Who among you would have enjoyed taking that on? The supervisor took the hit in the press with that too. And let's not forget the National Media Field Day with the infamous garbage barge that grew national attention for over a year. Every media outlet converged on Town Hall and was parked right outside, waiting for the supervisor to emerge. I remember that quite well, and I was a whole lot younger then. The situation reminds me of my mom's very sage advice. Be careful what you ask for, you may get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I would just like to comment. I thank you for those comments and that perspective. Apart from anyone being willing to speak to the media other than the supervisor, I just feel very strongly that this is not a good idea. It almost appears to be a diminishing of the powers of the supervisor, which generally are not just done willy-nilly, but rather with a referendum. So that's another issue. But you need to be able to speak with one voice. The council now is divided into 4 different councilmatic districts. The council people do not run at large, so they're basically responsible for 1/4 of the town of Islip. And there is an interaction that has to take place with various levels of government, and you really need one person to do that. Whether it's an emergency, a snow emergency, an emergency with the police department, or FRES or whatever, or various levels of government. So I would just ask my colleagues to think about this and perhaps consider tabling it.
Since it's a public hearing, I would like to begin a discussion, if I may. Is that appropriate?
Absolutely.
And I guess I guess have my discussion, if I may, with Councilman McKelwey, who's offered the resolution. As I recall, the reason for the resolution was that the council members, who are now, again, embracing a new system of districts, serving in districts, felt a little bit misaligned with public information because events like ribbon cuttings and ceremonies were happening in a council district's district, and council members were not being made aware of it. And the Office of Public Information, which works for the town, obviously the Office of Public Information serves a vital resource to the town, disseminating public information to our residents. Nobody disputes that. Everybody is in agreement on that. But information was coming from public information to the public, and council members were not being made aware of things that went on in their district, and it was really just supervisor-driven. And I think the supervisor rightfully pointed out, when this was brought up amongst the discussion amongst a few of us, that things happen in the districts that she is not made aware of. So in response to that, and it seemed to be a little bit of a communication breakdown, I was offended by one thing. I'm serving in the last of my 8 years on the board. I acknowledge the fact that the Office of Public Information plays a vital role. My objection was that 100% of the time, the messenger was always the same person. Now, we are all elected up here, and we all have the same vote. It's an equal vote amongst the 5 of us. Each one of us has a 20% vote, and yet that wasn't being represented in the messenger on behalf of the town. The messenger was consistently the same person 100% of the time. I even alluded to the fact that the Office of Public Information was a publicly funded private public relations firm for the supervisor. I know the supervisor took offense to that, but those were my impressions. So I thought a more fair distribution of the dissemination of public information would be appropriate. So as a group, we engaged on that, and we actually had a discussion, and I was asked to draft a memo that was circulated amongst the town board on May 21st. I usually say, as a lawyer, there is no pride in authorship. In this instance, I'll make an exception. I did write it. I'm happy to read it to the members of the public who don't have it. I thought it was a fair and balanced memo, so I will ask the sponsor of the resolution, do you take exception with the memo that was distributed to the town board on May 20th? So,
All right, to answer your, I do. I know we sat and we had a memo drawn, and within 5 days of the memo being drawn, the rules were already kind of broken.
I agree, and that was the Memorial Day message, correct?
So, yes, so, and I do, to the speaker that came up, years ago, it was a townwide. We ran townwide and we covered the entire jurisdiction. Now with councilmatic districts, I do believe that each person has a unique set. We have a community that we represent, and I can't really understand an argument. We're not trying to exclude the supervisor from this, but we're trying to work together, and I believe that the Public Information Office puts out that one message that we all do agree on, because things that may happen in Bayshore in my district might be completely different from Councilman Quadrone in Brentwood or Councilman Lorenzo in Holbrook. Each one has different and brings a different skill set and knowing their community and living in their community to the table.
And I think the memo addressed that. What part of the memo do you object to? Is there any particular provision within the memo that was distributed amongst the town board members that you disagree with? And if you do, why haven't you brought that to our attention before today in offering this legislation?
I disagree with, for the 17 months I've been here, I've always been told we're going to do better, and we usually get right back to point one of where we are. So
I agree. It's 5 days after the memo was released, a town public information post went out wishing the town a happy Memorial Day, and the only signer of it was the supervisor. But since then, we have had a similar public information distribution of Happy Father's Day, and it came from the entire town board. And we have had a similar public information distribution of Happy 4th of July, and it came from the entire town board. To me, that represents progress. I suggest that May 20th was less than 2 months ago. I don't understand the rush, and I would suggest more patience in allowing an operation that is transitioning, and we have a memo and a set of rules now to move forward and see if we can't. Now, we recently did a Stop Hate message on behalf of the town, and each one of the town board members was included in that, all 5 of us, and it's being shown at the movie nights. I went to the movie night at Byron Lake Park last Monday night. Wonderful, wonderful event with families on blankets getting ready to watch SpongeBob SquarePants, and I was the only one who knows who lives in a pineapple under the sea. So I think we're making progress, and I would urge the sponsor to reconsider this resolution and allow more patience to see if the memo can take hold and see if we can, as a group, work better together before we embrace on this proposed legislation. And that's my question of the sponsor. If he's not willing, I have a few more questions.
I have a comment, if you don't mind. Sorry, I have a comment. Councilman, when we had discussions regarding this resolution, all of a sudden, a week later, a resolution was written with no one, I wasn't involved in the resolution or any information in the resolution, and then the resolution that I read after that was different than the resolution that allegedly was written by you. It had some changes to it, but again, that shows that there was no progress with including the entire town board for that resolution. It was written by one person, which is great. You did a great job on it, but you know, all I think Councilman McElway is asking, myself too, is that we represent our districts. We all have the same vote up here. This is not a power grab from the supervisor's office. This is just council people just wanting to have a say in their district and do what's right for our community and work together as a team. So
I appreciate your question, and I do say there is no pride in authorship. I have no opinion on the process and how we got to the memo, but I think the memo is very clear. It's on all fours. It's in black and white. There's no ambiguity in it. At the end of the day, we reached the point that we reached, and I think we should move forward in good faith with that. Again, I have no comment on how we got there or how I all of a sudden became the drafter.
that's important. No, how we got there is
I know,
important.
but I all of a sudden became the drafter of the resolution because I had to excuse myself from a conversation because I had to go to a dermatology appointment. Public service announcement, no PIO. Irish people get skin cancer, so you should go to the dermatologist twice a year. I excused myself to go to a dermatology appointment, and all of a sudden, I became the drafter. I accepted that. I have no problem with it. I think the end result was a memo that makes sense and addresses all of the concerns of all of the members of this board. If it doesn't, I'm happy to go back to the drawing board before we adopt this resolution.
If I may, I really don't see on the language of the resolution any powers being taken away from the supervisor. On the contrary, we are sharing the same, information, and she will still have the leadership in these type of communications with the rest of the residents. So I really don't see powers being taken away from the supervisor.
Well, I would just answer, if you have an office reporting to the supervisor's office, and then you change it and have it report to the town board, then yes, you are diminishing the powers of the supervisor.
I asked the question of the sponsor if he'd be willing to table this and allow the memo from May 20th to get a little bit more hair on it, grow a little bit more. We can all learn from each other and grow a little more before we make the drastic approach of changing the town code permanently. And that's my question to the sponsor. If he's not willing to do that, and I understand why he wouldn't be, I understand both sides of this argument. Remember, I'm the one who sat on this board when council members served at large, and I'm the one who now sits on the board when council members serve in districts. This is the last of my 8 years on this board. I served 4 years on another board where we served at large. This is the last 5 months of my 12th year as a councilman. I understand the perspectives that everybody brings to the argument. I'm asking the sponsor of the resolution if he consider tabling it, and if not, then I'll ask some additional questions.
I respect your opinion, Jim, on this, but I will tell you we're not talking about from what just happened this past May to where we are today. This has been an ongoing thing back to, I've been in office since January of '24, and there's been issue after issue, event after event we were made unaware of. I've been called by people in my community saying, hey, you missed our ribbon cutting, and I said, I'm sorry, I wasn't invited. Well, we invited the entire town, and that information wasn't shared. And I honestly don't see it changing, and I don't see that passing this resolution really affects us. We're all involved. We're not trying to say the supervisor has no say. We're just all trying to have a seat at the table, just as we all have a seat at this table to make it.
I think I've got an answer to my question. I'll ask the next series of questions to the sponsor of the resolution. Have you considered the practical impact of this code change? For example, right now, we have somebody, whether it's a him or a her, who is in charge of the Office of Public Information, whether you call them commissioner or director or whatever it is title you want to give them, and regardless of who's in the position. Have you considered the practical impact of this legislation on that person who's going to be asked to serve in that capacity?
Yes.
And so how does a person who needs to get more pens or more pencils or a new camera, how do they get a check requisition authorized so that the controller can fund that here in our town? We have rules, department heads will tell you. We have rules, and a supervisor needs to sign off on it. So who does the director of public information go to get that signed? The issue, in fact, came up as recently as today, when there was a staff change announced in the Office of Public Information. Do they go to the entire town board and ask for a 5-person vote? That seems a little bit unwieldy. Who does the person who serves in that role go to for an answer to those questions?
I would think it would work the same way as our Department of Public Safety, Department of Public Works, DEC. I think they would bring it. It would come to the board for approval. I think in terms of pencil, I think in terms of pencil and paper, we have a purchasing department that each department submits to, and they get pencils and paper as needed. So
Who signs the authorization after the department director?
I would be the supervisor, right? Just as it
Well,
comes to us each month.
In this case, we're changing in the code that the person reports to the town board.
Yeah.
Which one of the five of us signs that? And how do they get it? Do they ask for a vote? I'll move on. I think I made my point. Second thing, code changes are permanent. I want everybody up here to imagine that we're sitting here 15 years from now, and none of the people sitting in these chairs aren't here. And they're dealing with a town code that has been changed, where 3 out of the 5 members of the town board come from a different persuasion, a different philosophy, a different set of ideas, a different set of inherent biases. It's something we all have. It comes from how we grow up and how we're raised and our values. And so even those who won't admit that they have inherent biases, everybody has them, right? What happens in that scenario where 3 people might be of one particular persuasion and 2 people of another, and the supervisor, who is by town law, New York State town law, the chief financial and fiscal officer of the town, who is charged with the responsibility for annually putting the budget together on behalf of the town, she is in the minority. Imagine the situation where 3 people with impure motives get together and decide to isolate the supervisor and prevent her access to the Office of Public Information. Are you aware of any township, to the sponsor, any township where the supervisor doesn't get a voice in the Office of Public Information?
No one is saying the supervisor doesn't have a voice in the Office of Public Information. Supervisor is a member of the town board.
Is there any town board out there that exists right now that you're aware of where this resolution has been passed?
Are we in court? Are we on trial?
No, I'm asking questions. There's a public hearing. I'm asking questions of the sponsor.
Excuse me, everyone, just one person at a time speaking. Let's have order.
I'm trying to make up my mind. There is a resolution before the board. I am. No, I really am, John. I have kept an open mind. I see both sides of the argument. I'm the one who said initially that I think the Office of Public Information should have more than one messenger, that 100% of the time it shouldn't be the same person over. I didn't think that was healthy. So I have added to this discussion, believe me. I am undecided, but I have some questions, and I'd like them asked. They may not have to be answered, but I'd like to ask them. What happens to the person who serves in the minority, who gets excluded? What is their remedy? Do they have to now go hire their own public information person, adding cost to the town taxpayer?
No, I believe that wouldn't be permitted.
Okay, and last question. Aren't we really talking about us and our egos? I mean, I remind myself each day that I come to work here that I'm elected by the people of the town of Islip. Do you think that anybody is sitting up late at night? They're working 2 or 3. I saw them last Monday night on their blankets with their kids at Byron Lake Park. They're working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. Do you think anybody gives a hoot about whether the Public Information Office reports to the supervisor or to this office of the town board? I think we'd all do well to take a page from President Harry S. Truman, who said, it's amazing how much you can accomplish in government when you're not worried about who gets the credit. I have nothing.
Well, if I may, I don't think
Councilman.
that this is about a council member getting the credit. And I understand that the supervisor is part of the town board. And as such, we all have equal weight and rights and duties and responsibilities. So I just don't see as to why it seems like we are heading into the direction as to one of us need to get credit when a communication is issued.
I agree. So at this point, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Excuse me, we're still having discussion on the resolution. If I could? Thank you. You mentioned something about 5 days after this egregious offense where a Memorial Day message went out. I'd just like to clarify the record, and I thought I had explained that. I had put together a Memorial Day message to the employees in the town of Islip and signed it from myself, just as Councilman Guadrone sent out a message to the employees wishing them a happy Memorial Day. When I realized that the town Public Information Office had sent my message out onto the website, I had it corrected so that it would reflect. If it was going on the website and not a personal message, it should have been from the entire town board. So it was corrected, and it went out, you know, a message townwide wishing everyone a safe Memorial Day, not happy. We don't wish someone a happy Memorial Day. So I just wanted to clarify that. And I beg to differ with you, Councilman Guadrone. This is a power grab, plain and simple. Plain and simple. And if that's where this town board wants to go, God bless you. But this is about good government. And I am the Chief Executive Officer of the town of Islip, whether you like it or not. I was elected by the people. The Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Fiscal Officer. It's part of town law. I, as a supervisor, am responsible for the day-to-day operations of the town of Islip. Yes, we all have one vote on the town board, different from county government where you have an executive branch and a legislative branch. In the town, the supervisor who runs the day-to-day still has a vote on the town board. So there is a difference.
I just think we'd do well to give it some more time, but obviously I'm in the minority, so.
I do feel, you know, this sounds like a power grab, because all we're saying is we would like to work together, and, you know, we've attempted to work together, and we've normally been shut down on many different things tonight. We don't need to air our dirty laundry here. But I feel that we're not excluding the supervisor, we're just asking for a seat at the table to be involved in the process that we also were all elected to. So, at this point,
Okay,
I will make a motion to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution.
On the motion, a seat at the table, an opportunity to speak. You have these concerns. Did any of you ever walk into the office that I'm in every day, by the way, all day long, every day of the week? Did any of you attempt to come in and discuss this? Did any of you do that? No. The answer is no. That is true. Okay, well, let's not go back and forth. But no one really chose to discuss it. This is your way. This is your way. It just, you know, yesterday was it was yesterday. It was a really good example, because you will be learning later, if you're able to stay long enough, that there will be discussion or speakers on the issue of cannabis, because we had this resolution before us a couple of months. It was tabled to today. And the media came out yesterday and wanted to talk about the issue that was going to be on the agenda today. They asked if I would be willing to speak to them, and then asked if they could speak to a member of the town board who had an opposition or an opposing opinion. And I told them who they could contact. Did anyone wish to speak? Anyone from the town board would not speak to the media.
That's not true now. Wait a second. We got a text message from the Director of Public Information, which I responded to and told you that I
Right.
did not wish to speak to the media. I will speak when the cannabis issue comes up today. That is my statement. I didn't wish to go before the media and get into excuse my language, a this for that before the media. This issue, it's unrelated, and we're getting off the track. My issue on the public information was I would prefer if we gave the May 20th memo more time. If it needs to be further developed, if we need to have further conversations, I think that's the more appropriate tack than moving to change the town code. I stand by that, and I'm willing to take the vote.
Well, I have to agree with the councilman about tabling this. There really is no urgency. When a code change happens, and it's not easy to change. So I would ask respectfully of the sponsor of the resolution to table it. Let's have some discussions. Let's see if there can be some clearly defined processes that makes you feel comfortable, that makes you feel that you're getting the information that you may feel that you're not getting. So the councilman, a tabling resolution takes precedence. So there is a resolution or a motion to table, and I will second that tabling resolution. And I would ask for the courtesy and respect of my colleagues on the town board to support that tabling resolution. All in favor of the tabling?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the tabling resolution fails.
Okay. And can we bring back the motion to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution?
There is a motion to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution. On the motion, roll call.
Councilman McGilway.
Yes.
Councilman Lorenzo.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
No.
Councilman Guadrone.
Yes.
Madam Supervisor.
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Motion passes. Let the games begin. Okay, let us move on. Okay, we will now move to the public portion. The first speaker is Megan O'Donnell.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Carpenter and members of the Town Council. My name is Megan O'Donnell. I'm an Executive Assistant District Attorney to Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney. I've been working at the DA's office since law school since 1998, so I do consider myself a career prosecutor and have been in law enforcement my whole career. Currently, I am a division chief at the District Attorney's Office, and I oversee the Narcotics Felony Bureau. I'm not here to express my personal views about cannabis or the legalization of it. I'm not here to espouse the personal views of DA Ray Tierney. However, as a member of law enforcement, a lifelong member of law enforcement, both myself and DA Ray Tierney, there are certain considerations that we do think are important to come to the table when you are debating this issue and taking the ultimate vote on it. So I would like to offer some considerations for you. Though there is an argument to be made about revenue that can come into the town, it is critical to weigh that potential benefit against the potential costs that will be spent on law enforcement, safety, and the police response. First of all, look to the cost to keeping our roadways safe. Unlike alcohol, which has been the subject of decades of testing and the effects on the body and on driving, our state is devoid of any type of standardized testing for driving while under the influence of cannabis. There is no intoxilizer or blood test that can say, like alcohol, that this person is above a legal limit. And looking further towards gummies, vapes, and oils that do not take effect on the human body right away, as Dr. Jeff Reynolds said, who is the president and CEO of FCA, the Family and Children Association, in a recent Newsday article. He says, "I always worry about somebody who takes a gummy and then tries to drive a car, doesn't feel like there's an immediate impact, consumes more, and then winds up panicking because they're not having a good experience." Dr. Reynolds' concern is not a hypothetical concern. It is based on what we are seeing in our hospitals, and statistics do not lie. Emergency room visits. Newsday recently reported only 2 months ago that thousands of Long Islanders have sought treatment in emergency rooms here on Long Island for marijuana-related problems that include psychosis, nausea, anxiety, breathing problems, and severe stomach pain. In 2024, 4,500 people went to Long Island hospitals for what New York State labeled as cannabis consumption. Stats show that people between ages 15 to 19 were by far the highest rate of people who visited our Long Island emergency rooms. Somebody is paying for those hospital bills and visits, and somebody is paying for the aftercare, and that is a factor that the town should consider when you are debating this particular issue. If you're talking about costs, I would say to definitely look at the cost to our young people. The district attorney's office works very closely with John Venza, who is the director of New York State OASIS funded outreach services. That's funded by New York State. It provides residential and treatment services to our county's young people and their families that are experiencing drug and alcohol and mental health issues. And again, statistics do not lie. In the past 2 years, Outreach has reported that they have served 520 clients that have been served in Outreach. Of those 520 clients, 88.6% of those clients reported marijuana to be a problem in their diagnosis. Of those people, 64 reported that marijuana was the primary diagnosis. And a recent and current snapshot reveals that 97% of their clients today report that marijuana is the main reason they are seeking help at Outreach. And you can look beyond our state and our country. There have been recent newspaper articles about Thailand, which legalized marijuana years ago. Again, just looking strictly at the statistics. In the 4 years since marijuana was legalized, young people between the ages of 18 and 19, their use of marijuana rose from 1% to 10% in a mere 4 years. Additionally, the country reports that public health costs related to cannabis addiction and mental health issues have increased 6 times since legalization. Members of the town council, as you know, there is no deadline or no rush to meet here today. The town can opt in at any time, but New York law says once you opt in, you may not opt out, regardless of any problems or challenges that you may face. Additionally, there's the home rule part of this that should be considered as well, and that's a huge consideration for law enforcement. In this context, the town, you cannot issue any local ordinance or code that you feel you need to ensure this type of business is sufficiently safe and well controlled and maintained. New York state law gives you only the limited ability to make local rules regarding the time, place, and manner of the sales and the consumption, but nothing more. And even if you make those rules, they must be determined by New York State to be reasonable. That is New York State telling you, the town of Islip, that the rule or code that you have passed passes muster by them, by the state, by people in Albany. Now, in conclusion, as I stated, I'm not here to espouse any personal views or to take any official statement on behalf of the district attorney's office, but there are real and practical impacts to law enforcement that your type of vote will have, and it is incumbent on everyone, both sitting at that table and in the audience and in this community, to think about, to not pass a law that cannot be revoked later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would just thank the district attorney for sending a representative down and sharing those comments and concerns. I would just like to add to the record that I had received communication from the police commissioner, who was supposed to be coming down here today and unfortunately could not. But myself, along with the other 9 supervisors, have been invited to participate in a task force to assist in the issues of trying to enforce what's going on and with the illegal sales of cannabis that are prevalent around the county. So we've met once or twice, and there are some strategies, but certainly this would go a long way in hindering those efforts. The next speaker is Hugo Rivas. If you could just check the timer, please. All right, let's watch that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the town of Islip for your efforts and consideration in opting into the legal cannabis retail. Opting in means much. It means that the town will receive revenue. And what does that mean? We always talk about revenue, right? But in a sense, in my town, Central Islip and the Brentwood, we're lacking revenue. Islip and all those other towns, they have money. We don't. We're lacking programs. We're lacking funds for programs. And basically, out of this situation, we're the ones that are going to be ending up paying when the taxes go up soon, because they're going to go up soon. We're going to be paying for those taxes, the residents. Not you guys, the residents, right? Yes, the residents would be paying more taxes because the taxes will be going up very, very soon. Next year, you can ask your supervisor about it as well. We need to eliminate the illegal shops. We need dispensaries here to eliminate the illegal shops. The illegal shops are the ones that cause the crimes that you guys talk about. They're the ones selling to the children. They're the ones that are not bringing tax revenue to the towns. They're not helping out in no way. I've been trying to reach out to you for 2 years, Ms. Angie Carpenter, trying to address this issue because I feel that that's what's affecting our kids, right? If we have a dispensary where they can't go in, that's going to help out. But we have dispensaries, well, not even dispensaries, because they're called smoke shops, and kids are allowed to go and purchase stuff like that, and we're not doing nothing about it. I'm glad that you're going to take that meeting with the rest of the supervisors and start doing something about it, because in my town, I see around 4 dispensaries or smoke shops that are open, and I see kids going in there all the time, and I don't see you doing nothing about that. Having dispensaries is going to bring much local and needed jobs to the community. They offer managerial jobs. They have bud-tender drivers. They have supervisors. They have security guards. They have many, many roles that they're going to help with our community because we're lacking jobs out here. Everything is going to AI. The future is going to be we're lacking jobs. We just need to stay updated with what's going on. And you're not seeing the future for us out here. People are actually going to universities. They're getting titles in order to work in dispensaries, and where they're gonna go work. I apologize again. I'm a little nervous every time I come up here. I'm always the one that have to come and talk, and I'm not the one to be doing this, but I always do it because I know what cannabis does mean. It means that it's gonna help out our community in many ways. People always talk about our children. In dispensaries, you cannot enter a dispensary if you're not 21 and over. We have regulations. The state has done their work in order for this to come to fruition. And yet, the towns think like they have the right in order to, or they have a better understanding of cannabis. I'm trying to get even an appointment where you usually even talk about cannabis, and you don't even give me that opportunity. How are you even gonna learn? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Gahui Avelli?
So it's spelled different. Gary Ovell. Looks fancy, just Gary.
Oh, Gary, I am so sorry. Gahrey, Gary.
Angie,
Yeah.
we've known each other a long time. I know my name looks fancy, just Gary. Just Gary, I promise. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Gary O'Valley, a lifelong resident of the town of Islip and president of the Long Island Cannabis Coalition. Wanted to say thank you to the town Islip board for your willingness to come to the table to revisit this conversation and potentially opt in to cannabis retail. Voting to opt into cannabis retail is a vote for public health and safety. Currently, there are many illicit shops right here in the town of Islip, and they flourish because legal cannabis dispensaries are not allowed. These businesses have no fear, and they operate in the open. They advertise to our children, and oftentimes these products are in arm's reach. and local residents take a chance purchasing these products that could harm them because they don't have access to legal, safe, tested, and regulated products. Here are some of the things legal cannabis retail does. Cannabis retail shops are mandated by the state to prevent access to children. They can't be marketed to, not even allowed to see it from the street. Every time a legal cannabis dispensary opens, the Office of Cannabis Management works with local law enforcement to make sure that they perform sweeps in the surrounding communities to make sure that illicit shops shutter their doors and remain closed, helping to remove the criminal element of the conversation. Of all the dispensaries currently open on Long Island, there have been 0 complaints against them for traffic, crime, smell, or nuisance. We know that when cannabis is legalized in communities across the state now, across the nation, the rates of opioid overdose begin to decline. There is a causation and relation. What else does cannabis retail do? It provides a tremendous tax benefit that can serve our communities in a myriad of ways, offsetting budget deficits, beautifying parks, helping provide assistance to many of our schools that are in economic distress. They also contribute to opioid prevention. They provide safe, regulated, and tested products to those who wish to consume. I remind you that Long Island's largest consuming demographic, 45 to 60 years old. That's who you are preventing from getting access to products that they absolutely want. It also creates thousands of jobs for the local residents. Cannabis is legal in New York. The cannabis baby is already here, and there's no stuffing it back in. It's our responsibility to grow this industry as safe and as responsible as we can, and that takes strong leadership as well as a coordinated effort from the businesses and community stakeholders that will help shape its growth and direction. We ask that you approve retail in the town of Islip. Our residents deserve access to this legal industry, and communities can benefit from the revenue and safety that it will create. Many of the concerns that you will hear today are rooted in fear and misinformation. They describe the very issues that legal cannabis retail solves: crime, access from our children, unsafe and tainted products. 15 to 19-year-olds, they're not even allowed to enter the shop. And 529 people is the smallest sample size to even bring to this conversation in a town of hundreds of thousands. Be realistic, be progressive, be the leaders that we need. Thank you.
Next speaker, Kevin Crumlish. Kevin Crumlish.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Carpenter, council members. You know, I've spoken here earlier about this marijuana law. You know, this Islip town has been here before the Revolutionary War. We had no drugs since. Why are we even considering this? So I am totally adamant about any type of sales of marijuana in this town. You know, you have adjoining towns that permitted it. So I'd say, hey, step back and look at that, all the problems they're going to have. I spent 20 years in law enforcement as a detective. I see nothing but horror. I seen homicides involving marijuana. And then I sent all the board members here information on marijuana. The Canadian government did studies back in the 70s and told you it was not good. Mainly it injures teenagers, brains that are under development. They start at 16, 17 years of age. They go to 25. The Canadian studies are very realistic, and also a lot of Americans are putting out stuff. And the newspaper articles I sent you from the Wall Street Journal, there was one in there yesterday. If you just read the story, about 300 immigrants were arrested in California harvesting marijuana. And about a dozen children that were missing. So people are taking advantage of these things. If they're doing this in California, you don't think they're doing this in New York. It's nothing but a horror. So this is something seriously to consider. I know it's a difficult one because you got people that are pro for it because they're going to involve economics. But hey, we don't need economics. This town has been around enough for years, centuries, that hey, we don't have to depend on the sale of marijuana. It's just a horrible, even considering it. And then, you know, we hear rumors that certain board members feel that, hey, this is good, you get revenue. I don't even want to identify as if that is true. It's unbelievable. You got to step back and do more studies yourself. Superintendent Carpenter, you mentioned that you have a task force looking at various things. Yeah, so I would do more study on it and take this vote very serious. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, just so you know, I thank you. I know you sent the information on, and each of the council people has a packet with copies of what was sent in addition to some other information that was sent to my office. Thank you. Next speaker, Lawrence Donahue.
I didn't realize I put my name down to speak, but and so I don't really have anything prepared. But any drug is intertwined with other drugs, and one leads to the other, and the result is eventually death or disease. And I don't think we should approve anything that causes disease or damage to citizens. So I'm totally opposed to it. Shouldn't happen. I've spoken to many people who feel that marijuana is a gateway drug. It's well known to be a gateway drug and leads to further drug use.
Thank you. Next speaker, Pat Montanino.
Just for the record, it says Pat on it, not my last name. So I would appreciate it if you'd pay attention to that. Last meeting, you had made an official that was part of the Clemente dumping. You put him on the planning board. I can't even imagine why, after you made a comment that your dedicated personnel in our hazmat unit for acting quickly to prevent this crime from doing long-lasting harm to our environment, then why did you put him on the planning board? I have no idea. Then you have the house on Carlton Avenue that you purchased with our tax money, $425,000. 10 years ago, you said it was going to be made into a public parking lot. 10 years ago. Now, and here's the picture, it's used as a hiding place for town workers. They'll take their vehicle and back it into the woods behind the home and hide. So I'm just wondering, when the people pay $50,000 to $100,000 for a vehicle, you're allowed now to back it into the woods and scratch the daylights out of it. And we must have something going then with a body shop, I guess. And then my last comment is the dog and pony show that was put on here about public information. People have been foiling for public information, and anything financial or lately anything period, you won't even answer. That's illegal. And what else is illegal is the fact that none of you have a surety bond. None of you have taken the courses online to be able to sit up there and make a decision. So don't make a decision for us when you can't pay attention to the ones that you are supposed to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ryan Olson.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, gentlemen of the board. Good to see you all again. It's very hot in here. I don't know, I've been here every week, every time since we've had this meeting, and I've listened to both sides, and I've heard everything everybody had to say, and I don't think you're going to hear new stuff today.
Could you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
Yes. So the illegal versus legal argument here, is kind of nonsense to me because they're saying that if the legal shops open, the illegal stuff will stop. California's had recreational marijuana legal since 2016, and in 2024, last year, 38% of the marijuana consumed in California was from the legal market. So that means 62% still from the illegal market. Live and well, 8 years in. Really not doing anything about it. They're not going to do anything about it here either. Drug dealers can sell the marijuana that you're getting at a dispensary for much cheaper than you can get at a dispensary. They don't have to pay for electric. They don't have to pay rent. They can charge whatever they want, and they're going to go get the cheapest price. So I don't see how that's much of an argument. Back to my point about you guys being 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat from last time. Yesterday, the House Appropriations Committee met, and they introduced legislation that is going to ask the DOJ not to be able to use the funds to deschedule or reschedule marijuana as a Class 3 narcotic. This is a huge blow to the cannabis industry if this bill passes, because they will lose all the tax breaks that they think they're going to get, and it's going to kill their industry. This is the same committee that introduced last month that to try to close the loophole for THCA, which is in the Farm Bill from 2018, which allows for Delta 8, which is allowed to be sold legally in other states because it's not illegal. That's going to close the loophole on that, so they're going to lose another funding stream. So everything for them is not looking very good. If I was a Republican, I wouldn't want to be tied to legislation that said that I voted for something that my party didn't want. They all seem to think that since Trump was campaigning on rescheduling to a Schedule 3, that was going to happen, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, I mean, Republicans in general are not pro-marijuana. Look at Ron DeSantis down in Florida. Amendment 3 was supposed to pass in November, and he poured $50 million of taxpayer money, which he wasn't supposed to do, into that program, and that didn't happen. So Florida, it is not legal in Florida, and that was another huge blow to the cannabis industry. Left and right, just huge blows to the industry. I don't understand why you guys are even here discussing this, so I suggest you opt out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joseph Alger.
Thank you for letting me speak. I spoke earlier at a different meeting. I hope it didn't fall on deaf ears. You should not have this because of the taxes. I don't think you're going to get. I don't think you're going to get the money you think you're going to get because all the other towns already opted in, so they're going to get the. It's going to be spread out further, and you're going to get less than you think. Angie, last time you said you were against it, and I hope everybody follows our lead. I believe these shops are unwanted. And as the gentleman said here before, that because you have these shops, you're going to have less kids having the ability to have it. How do you stop the legal person, say somebody my age, from buying it and handing it down to the kid outside the store? That's about it. And the other thing is, I hope you're not just having this at 2 o'clock. I don't know why you didn't have it later in the day so more people could show up. I just hope you're not trying to do this so you could push it through with less pushback. And that's all. Thank you for hearing me. Board, thank you.
Thank you. John Bugler.
Angie Carpenter and distinguished fellows, members of the press. I'm 89 years old, made missions behind the Iron Curtain when I was young, was captured behind the Iron Curtain. Did it for my posterity, did it for the future, I didn't do it for myself. The importance of your vote is almost up to closest to the Zenger vote down in early 1750s.
because you're voting on the future. Town of Islip is perhaps the best town anywhere in the United States. I've been in all states except Alaska and Hawaiian Islands. I moved out of the city back in '78 for a better life. My superiors told me to move to the town of Islip. It was a good move. Each one of you has distinguished himself, particularly this gentleman. And you have done great things for my community, and you have led us all so many times in different places. And you own a business, a restaurant. You service people well, and you I don't know, and you I don't know, but I'm sure you've distinguished yourself also. We're talking about our posterity here. This is a JAMA report, 50 of them. Anyone wants a copy of them, they may take one. You all have the JAMA report. I will just conclude. Between the ages of birth to 25, the brain is in development. Marijuana cripples the brain as it develops. It stays, the damage is forever. I've had one time in my life, I was considered a good speaker at 2 strokes. I have to fish for words now. Young people who go through this process of marijuana in those early years will find themselves where I am now, fishing for words later on. Calm water calls it a frontal lobotomy, characterized by euphoria, depression, long-term disorientation, 2 years off the stuff, still disturbed brain function, impaired memory. It's permanent. This is permanent damage to the brain of young people, and you're here to protect them. That's your job, and if you don't do it, you'll have to answer to God. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Andy Cross.
The board already has it. Oh, okay. Each member of the board already has a copy of this. Thank you. Each member of the board already, anyone here that wants any, it's here, the JAMA report. Thank you all for being here. It's a great police officer right here.
Andy Cross, Spatial, New York.
A war zone. One of the greatest captains in the history of the police.
And we,
And they get hurt out in Colorado with this accidents going up through the roof.
Mr. Cross, you may begin.
and once again, I'm here about the NYS real property tax line on my tax bill. When the tax went up 41% in 1 year, you told me it was due to the price of housing going down. Now that the price of housing is going up monthly, and the tax went up another 103%, what's going on? 103% up in 1 year? Is that how you represent Islip taxpayers? Last month town board meeting, it was found out that town board member received $100,000 from a landlord. Is this how you represent Islip taxpayers? Is this how landlords get tax abatements? Meanwhile, the taxpayers are left to foot the bill for new equipment, fire equipment, and new school taxes for new kids in school. And the landlord's not only getting approved for 14-story buildings, 5-story buildings. Is this what you call working for the residents of Islip Town? How much money did you use to make for approving these buildings? How much did you make on the parking meters over the residents that came to the library pleading to get no parking meters, and that parking meters were going to put people out of business, which it did. Companies that were there for 30 and 40 years went out of business because nobody wanted to go to the parking meters. It's a wonder how these all got approved over the objections of Islip townspeople. And finally, how much money have town board members made for cannabis? And the 3 or 4 or 5-story apartment buildings, 14-story apartment buildings? The 5-story one in Sayville, how much did you make from them? Maybe you can let us know at the next town board meeting. And for the cannabis that you're going to vote on today, I would like each town board member to say whether he received money from the cannabis people before you vote on it. Thank you.
Next speaker, Kimber Arezi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Kimber Arezi. I'm a New York State medical cannabis patient, activist, and the parent of a minor who is a patient in the New York State medical program. As the parent of a child with autism, epilepsy, and a rare blood disease, my child is one of 300 plus New York State medical patients in the program who is under the age of 21. Although I own a hemp company in New York State and I supply products to 42 New York State adult use and medical dispensaries, my son is never allowed to accompany me when I make deliveries to adult use locations because, well, he's not an adult. But as a New York State medical patient, the only dispensaries he is allowed entrance into are the 35 New York State medical locations. And the reason that's so important to share is that there's a misconception that by blocking adult use cannabis dispensaries, that we're protecting our youth. Since 2018, I have been working in New York State medical cannabis, and I opened and was part of the opening team for the New York State Medical Dispensary in Carle Place. Since 2018, I've worked with thousands of families, as well as pharmacists and wellness associates across New York State to talk about how cannabis as medicine can be beneficial. When most of us come up here and we say the word marijuana, we're really talking about THC, which is one of 150 different identified compounds in the plant. My brand, Chime and Chill, which as I said is sold in 42 New York State dispensaries, contains absolutely no THC, even though the Farm Bill says I'm allowed 0.3%, because I focus on purpose over potency and showing people across New York State that cannabis as medicine can offer many benefits, even without the psychotropic feeling of being quote unquote high. So before you actually vote to prevent adult use cannabis dispensaries, my question to you is, how many of you have actually entered one of our 410 adult use dispensaries or 35 medical dispensaries to actually know what the experience is? As a parent in Long Island, I will share with you that information is like water. You cannot stop the flow, but you can control the way it is dispersed. Be a dam. Share information with our youth as well as our community members so they can make educated decisions. The highest shopping population in adult use is Generation X women. Thanks so much for your time.
Next speaker, Debbie Kavanaugh.
Good evening, Debbie Kavanaugh, member of the Central Islip School Board. I have spoken at the past several board meetings about popcorn lung, the damage it does to the heart, the fact that it kills our brain cells. We are going to put our children into an early set of oncoming dementia. If that's what you want to do, you are responsible, each and every one of you. I will tell you this. 3 of you represent my community in Central Islip. 1 of you don't. But the one that doesn't, West Islip and Bayshore, came out over the past several board meetings strongly against it. The 3 of you who represent my community, because I'm the only town that has 3 councilmen, I will tell you this. I will work my ass off to make sure that if you vote yes, that you are going to opt in. I will make sure that I do everything in my power to see that you don't get reelected. Cannabis is a gateway drug for our children. It does damage their health, bodies, minds. We don't need an early onset of dementia of our young people. And I am so tired of you who represent the people, and the people have stated, and then you go off and do your own thing. You represent us. We have come out numerous times over the past 3 or 4 months speaking out against it as a community as a whole. And Mike, put it in your shop, your town. We don't want it in Central Islip. Thank you.
Alexander Kirilova.
That's me, you got me. Okay, here it is. I'm a retired postal worker, divorced, living at a Fairfield property. 1.5 years, I was offered to move in as an incentive, $1,800. I said, oh, it's a great deal. What did I get? Well, I got a welcome with cockroaches coming into my apartment. Tenants are nasty, disgusting, leaving garbage outside. And now the tenant below me decides that he's going to smoke me out and try to kill me by vaping, smoking cigarettes in the bathroom with the vent on, and then leave it on for 15, 20 minutes and repeat the cycle over and over again. Now, on April the 26th, I was taken to the hospital because the tenant downstairs left a frying pan on the floor, on the pan, smoked out the whole apartment. I got sick. I called the fire department. Police came. I wound up going to the hospital half the day in Southside. Now, I can't breathe in my apartment. I told management don't want to do anything. They want me eliminated every possible way. They tried to get rid of me by not renewing my lease. That didn't work. I'm alive and kicking. Now, I had my x-rays, x-ray done on my chest. They found something in there, okay? I get everything. Now, my question to you is this. This sign is posted on every dumpster in the parking lot of my facility. Could you explain to me what that definition means? Suffolk County, 574.
Right.
What's that all about? Can you give me a definition of what that means?
I'm going to give it to the town attorney. Ironically, I had sponsored that resolution when I was a member of the county legislature, and I don't know if the meaning has changed, but it's pretty
No, it's not
pretty
changed,
clear.
because what's the definition within 50 feet? Meaning that you could smoke outside my window and then go back into the apartment and smoke again? Try to smoke me out because I bring serious matters to the management. They don't want to do anything
All right,
about
all I can tell you is that, again, this is not a question and answer, but I will say that when the legislation was drafted, it was meant that there was no smoking permitted within 50 feet of the entrances of any of the buildings where it was posted. If that has changed, you would have to check with the county. That is a county law, not a town law.
Well, I've been working with Assemblyman Ramos. And I'm going to make it nationwide where the landlord's going to be responsible for the tenant's behavior and also what they do. So that's not fair. That needs to be changed.
Okay.
I appreciate your time, and God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Adeus cheese. Adonis? Okay, sorry about that.
Good afternoon. My name is Adonis Cheese. I'm 15 years old, and I'm going to 11th grade in Connecticut High School. A huge amount of people end up in...
Adonis, if you could pull that microphone up and speak into it so we can hear you. Thank you.
A huge amount of people end up in ER rooms all over Long Island due to marijuana-related problems. Despite the small number of children who find gummies or other candy-looking substances and eat them without any warning of having marijuana in it, kids from the range of 15 to 19 years old had the highest rate of emergency department visits and hospitalizations. That is the age of kids in high school who make dumb but seemingly popular decisions despite what they might think, and they don't take the time to think about these rash and, in the end, harmful decisions. Overconsumption, even once, can cause paranoia, psychosis, or anxiety. Cannabis proves to be addicting. A lot of people slowly but surely become weak-minded because of marijuana and the gummies that they're using, and it prevents them from making decisions to benefit themselves and the world. Even if the places that these edibles, gummies, or any form of cannabis is sold by is protected by guards or specified personnel, it is mainly by ID, which kids get faked all the time. A kid who looks 21 but really is 16 can get through the personnel if they fake an ID. According to Dr. Andrew Monte of the University of Colorado, a medical school, found that eating cannabis, whether purposeful or unknowingly, can make someone 33 times more likely to end up in the emergency department than someone who inhaled marijuana. According to Mr. Councilman John Lorenzo, the job of the council people was to protect the people, according to an interview had with Newsday. However, these people wouldn't be doing their jobs if they let something that sends many people into the ER on a daily basis back onto the streets of Islip. Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter, during an interview with Newsday, said that she personally doesn't feel that the council people should jeopardize the health and well-being of the future, the youth. Ms. Carpenter, I feel that this is correct in this statement. We need to protect the future generation, my generation, even the generation after mine. We need to be protected from the dangers of the world. Some kids aren't as lucky as I am to have a parent who cares about them, like how I do, like how my mom does, how my family does. And this may be inappropriate, so I apologize, but it's like Ms. Carpenter's acting like the mom of the 339,938 people in the town of Islip, and it's growing every day. Instituting places for cannabis is almost like trying to get rid of the people of Islip. We will not go so easily. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rhonda Netterman. Rhonda Netterman.
Good afternoon. I'm a Central Islip resident for over 40 years. I'm actually the Director of Prevention at YES. I sit on the Town of Islip Heroin and Opioid Task Force, and I'm also a member of our Islip Goes Purple initiative, in which the town board participates and advocates for. I've been voicing my opinions, my concerns, stats, and facts in person when I learned of the town wanting to reverse their decision to opt out of cannabis retail. Since April, every single month, I've come out for the public and for our youth. Today, I share with you a brief study conducted in California in which they found that youth living in cities or counties that banned cannabis stores and or delivery were less likely to have recent diagnosis of a psychotic disorder. Contrary, when there is greater retail availability, which was measured by the number of cannabis shops near their home, there is a significant rate of psychotic, depressive, and anxiety disorders, as well as self-reported symptoms. Yes, teens can't legally buy cannabis, but they're highly exposed to it through social media, peers, guardians, and again, sheer proximity of where they are located. So I did some thinking. I have a teenager and I have an 11-year-old, and we like to shop at Tanger Outlets in Deer Park, in which the closest cannabis retail store is 0.8 miles or roughly 5 minutes away, which is located in the town of Babylon. However, the same cannabis retail store is only 0.4 miles away from Brentwood West Middle School. So you expect me to believe that the town of Islip is only going to put these cannabis stores in an industrial area. These industrial areas in our town are even in closer proximity to schools and/or youth community centers, as well as our neighboring towns. What message are we sending to our youth? Back to the study. It found that the median drive time from a teen's home to the nearest cannabis retailer was still just 10 minutes away, highlighting the limits of local policy for a greater distance of retail access. So again, why is it necessary for us to have retail cannabis stores in the town of Islip when you can just drive the same distance to another town in Deer Park to get cannabis? As we know, New York legislators are proposing to redefine drug driving laws. Why? Because 24% of fatal crashes in 2023, Long Island had a driver under the influence of substance involving cannabis and other drugs, ranging from fentanyl to amphetamines, according to the National Transportation Safety Board. So again, I asked you, is the town of Islip looking to wear the badge of the town with being the highest rate of number of fatalities due to drug driving? Because that's what's gonna happen if we continue to opt in. I want to opt out. So I thank you, and as we head into the month of September, I just urge the board to consider and remember the mission of Islip Goes Purple. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Manny Troch.
Hello. Well, good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manny, and I just want to say a couple of things. I'm an advocate in the community, a very strong advocate that has been out there in Brentwood for a long time. Where we stand on this is cannabis. I'm sorry. Where we stand this is the word cannabis. What does it really stand for? It stands for students, future, most of all, fear, and last, they don't want it in Brentwood. I stand here because they asked me to come and speak on their behalf. We think about one thing. We think about ourselves. We think about the future of us. We say the difference between what is a student or are they adults. Do you see a lot of kids here? Do you ask them the question? The question doesn't come up. We make the decisions for them. But at this point, that decision becomes very harsh when it then hurts them. Our community cannot and does not want this at all. I have to stand as an advocate in this community to say no. I appreciate everything that everyone up there does in one sense or another, and I know you all well. But at the same time, you have the hardest decision that you have to make today. And it's not about giving numbers or saying numbers in this room. You can inflate them, deflate them, whatever way you want. But at the end of the day, you are the ones that are sitting and putting those heads on the pillow to making a decision that will either be the right one or the wrong one. Our community does not want it, and they will keep repeating it. I go and advocate with all the kids. I speak with them. They say, what is their truth? And remember, like a drunk, when they talk and they tell you the truth. Well, students say the truth. Again, we can inflate numbers, but I respect whatever decision is being made, but it could be the wrong one. No one will ever know at this point. But again, the community is speaking and saying no more.
Next speaker, Kiana Biera Anderson.
Good afternoon. My name is Kiana Biera Anderson. I'm here on behalf of the Long Island Progressive Coalition, and I'm speaking in favor of opting in. The last time I was here, I reminded this town council that they had raised taxes on their residents, and that was done in 2014. I'm going to reiterate that to you because unfortunately it is an election year, and you're caught between a rock and a hard place because that tax raise is going to start to hit people. And then our federal government just passed this big, beautiful bill. That is slated to cost New York State billions of dollars. So now you've got a tax problem and the loss of additional funding problem. So the decision really to opt in is almost outside of your handle, because these same communities that are going to that are speaking in opposition to it are also going to come back here and say, where's the money? Why am I broke? Why don't I have a doctor? Why don't I have a school? Why don't I have the police anymore? Because there's no more money. So, outside of saying that, I also want to uplift that the MRTA bill is a massive, comprehensive piece of legislation. The original bill was 300 pages, and it addressed a lot of the concerns that were brought up today. It addressed the concerns of individuals being in spaces where they should not be. It addressed concerns, and most importantly, it slated funding for the community to benefit from this bill, specifically the community that's not really here, that looks like me, the community that has been arrested, detained, stigmatized, racially profiled because this legislation was been banned. My community, who has used this herb because it is a plant in its natural capacity in a healing way, that now those individuals who are not native born to this country are stigmatizing and demonizing. That's not fair. There needs to be a comprehensive education campaign about what the MRTA legislation allows for and does not. One other thing that I will say is I'm definitely an advocate for women's rights. I will do what I please with my body, and I'm an advocate for parents. I believe that parents should have the right to dictate what does and does not happen to their students, but that does not mean I should be restricted from what I am allowed to do. If a child is using cannabis, that parent should be arrested. Because why does your child have access to cannabis? You have no problem with them accessing Adderall, Tylenol, Advil, similar drugs that can cause worse harms than cannabis, and you are not arresting them. I really implore on this legislative body to actually read the full MRTA bill. It's not 300 pages anymore. It's actually 130, because the arguments of individuals used against my community that took away key proponents of the bill that would have helped us were taken out. But 130 pages is not that long. Also, this energy that you have for the MRTA, you do not have for cell phones, you don't have for, thank you, you do not have for computers. I would advise this body to review data and privacy and technology.
Thank you. Bear with me. Is Rabo Pudo? I'm sorry.
It's okay. My name is Jeswobo Duda. Hello, the Town of Islip members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about this topic of cannabis. My name is Jeswobo Duda, and I'm the upcoming president of NAACP Youth, standing for National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and a Central Islip student. Lately, we've been hearing a lot about cannabis at community meetings and town halls, and that's not just a coincidence. This isn't just a conversation about weed, it's about justice, opportunity, and repair. For decades, Black and brown communities were hit the hardest by the war on drugs. People were arrested, locked up, and left with records that ruined chances of jobs, housing, and education, all for something that's now legal in states. And yet, as cannabis becomes a billion-dollar industry, the same people who were punished for it are being pushed out of the profits. Big corporations, mostly white-owned, are taking over, while Black entrepreneurs face barriers like high startup costs, limited access to licenses, and ongoing stigma. It's about more than legalization. It's about reinvesting in our neighborhoods and creating real pathways for Black-owned businesses to thrive in this space. It's also about safety and education. If cannabis is here to stay, we need to make sure it's regulated safely, marketed responsibly, and understood by our communities and not criminalized, in new ways. Legal does not mean safe. Just like alcohol and tobacco, cannabis will eventually end up in the hands of teens, even if it's not supposed to. The more it's sold, the more it spreads, harming the teens' minds and bodies. Do we really want this accessible to our town? As youth, I'm against the idea of cannabis and want Town Board of Islip to opt out of allowing cannabis. It's Islip's town's job to protect and represent us. the youth and make sure that we're not going to be left behind, but instead leading forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, James Birch.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Dr. James Birch. I serve on a number of different boards. I don't speak for them, but I do want you to know my qualifications. I serve on the Board of Education at Stable Schools, the board of the Lieutenant Michael Murphy Navy SEAL Museum, and the board for Save the Great South Bay, and I direct the volunteer program for the organization. I'm also a member of the Y. Again, I do not speak for them, just myself. I am here to request and to inform the town that I am requesting a moratorium on significant zone changes until TOY 360 is complete. Over the course of our careers, the average Long Islander will spend 4,800 days commuting back and forth to work. Poor planning is the culprit. Town officials upgrade property rules to allow for more housing, yet we rarely expand the infrastructure these new residents need. Our quality of life suffers as a result. Fortunately, earlier this spring, the town embarked on our first master plan since 1979. It's called Town of Islip 360. I laud the town for committing close to $500,000 to ask residents what we want our town to look like. Unfortunately, the town made two decisions that I believe are related that call question to TOI 360. Is it sincere or is it window dressing? Just last month, a new controversial member of the town zoning board received an unusual walk-on nomination appointment by the town council that night. As if in tandem, a planning board meeting was scheduled to review a zone change for a project long opposed by residents. We must see TOI 360 through. Zoning is wildly out of date in many parts of the town of Islip. Zoning in my hamlet, Sable, for example, has not been updated since 1967. 170,000 residents lived in the town of Islip back then. Gas was 32 cents a gallon and home cost was $19,000. It's unusual to find a home today for under $500,000. Times have changed, so have our needs. Consider the exodus of young people leaving Long Island because of a lack of affordable housing. Each of these young people take with them a first-rate public education paid for by taxpayers. Today's housing proposals are wildly out of reach for young people. Our children are leaving and taking our investment in their education with them. TOI 360 seeks community input as a first step in making a new master plan. Why clear-cut a forested property when an easement could be made on an adjacent lot to allow for more dynamic business uses? We need to address our housing needs, yet we must also strive to create a plan that creates a better balance between our quality of life, the environment, and public health. We currently have a small toxic plume winding its way through West Islip at the Zoo Superfund site. Unfortunately, I'll be at that meeting at West Islip High School. Previously, we were told this site was safe. We know it's not. Cadmium and chromium, two cancer-causing agents, continue to leak into. Oh, I apologize. I just want to thank the town, and again, I just want you to know my intentions. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Harry Penn.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and Board Member. I'm Harry Penn. I'm speaking about safety of Central Islip. And my wife had a car accident a month ago going through a stop sign. She had a stop sign, but the other car didn't. She proceeded with caution, and she was halfway across the stop sign when the accident occurred. So I noticed that on Union Boulevard down here, they have no parking by the stop sign, Union Boulevard down here in Islip. So my concern is that she proceeded with caution, but the other car that didn't have a stop sign ran into her and totaled her car. And I had put new tires on it, new seat cover, so I didn't get much money for that. But it's concerning the stop sign safety. I know it's in Central Islip, they don't have you can park all the way underneath the stop sign so you don't see oncoming traffic. But here in Islip on Union Boulevard, there's a rule that is you cannot park directly on the corner. And that's my concern in my neighborhood, Central Islip. And on Union Boulevard, there's a no parking within the stop sign or parking space of a car. So you can check that out. Okay. And I guess that's the time I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Harry. We will have DPW check that out. Next speaker, Michelle Cole.
Hello, my name is Michelle Cole. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Before I start, I want to say I've heard a couple of the community residents talk about stop signs and improved conditions and improved roads. That's what allowing legal dispensaries here can do. You will get the revenue that you need for those stop signs, and I'm sorry that your wife went through that. We will be able to fund those programs, to fund the safety that you need. That it seems that the residents who aren't even talking about cannabis, they want safe roads, they want safe conditions, and the revenue that the cannabis dispensaries, they'll bring that to you. I currently own businesses in Babylon. I am in very close proximity to all the legal cannabis stores, and they are doing well. They are, as a small business owner, when businesses are closing at an extremely alarming rate, they are bringing back funding that Babylon is able to help us as small businesses. I don't have a cannabis business, but the improved conditions of Babylon are immense. What I would encourage everyone to do, because I know change is not easy, is to take a road trip and go see what these dispensaries look like. There are 3 different checkpoints to get in there. You're not going to be able to get in there with a fake ID. They don't have that. Additionally, unfortunately, I did do some research on the town of Islip, and the reason why you have a Go Purple program, you have task force. Those are in place right now, and you don't even have legal dispensaries here. So that means you have a problem, and you have a fentanyl problem. When you are able to regulate the cannabis that is coming in, that will help to alleviate, not completely, but it will reduce it. I'm going to tell you, as I'm sitting here, I just got a New York State email of a grower in New York State that it's monitored and tested, and they said it cannot be used in any of these dispensaries. That's how regulated this industry is. When you go to these dispensaries, it's people that look like us that's going in there. It's not what everyone is seeing on Law and Order. It's average. It's us who are going in there. Now they don't have to be on a street corner in the middle of the night, potentially getting robbed, potentially getting laced cannabis. It's regulated. It's safer. It's just a safer route to go. And it will benefit all of these community members who are sitting here saying, we need help. Our taxes are high. There's unsafe. My wife just got into an accident. This will benefit you in so many ways. And I encourage everyone, again, I see a lot of the senior residents, you're unfamiliar, and change is not easy. Go to Babylon. Just walk in there. You don't have to make a purchase. See how regulated this is. Thank you.
Michelle, you were quite passionate in your advocacy, and I'm curious, I see that you're from Melville. Are you doing the same in the town of Huntington? Next speaker, Daniel Montoya.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, members of the board here. Okay. I have a lot of respect for any person that's in the building, in the room, but I learned the Constitution of the United States that I had the freedom of the speech without insulting nobody. I was not raised in that way. I am coming from different countries than the United States. I'm coming from Colombia. I am proud American citizen. I'm proud to have 2 Marines in my family. But some of the things I hear today, that really bothers me. I'm going to say this. Congratulations that you say that the sell marijuana in this town is going to solve the problems. Some of you are definitely wrong. Listen to me, you're wrong. When some of you had kids and you go to the house tonight and the members of the board go to the house tonight, your son, your daughter, your granddaughter, and you're going to sleep well? Definitely not, because can be your son, can be some of the sons here that die in overdoses of marijuana or something else. 70% of cocaine coming from my country, and I condemn 100% that. I don't like that at all, number one. Number two, we create problems. People going to end up in the streets. Why? Because they don't have place to go. The families don't want to see the kids. It's a lot of way to get money from the towns, reduce the budgets, reduce the spending, because if the people have spent less, if the towns lower the taxes, the people in this country, in this town have more spare income to spend. That is the solution to the problem. Not what you propose, then I say, Spencer's, everybody sell marijuana like crazy and we solve any problem. That is wrong. Thinking twice. I am a teacher in high school. I am the chairman of the Catholic school in the Bronx, and I see things like that. Do not permit that. This is not right. You guys dreaming. What you dreaming? My country, in Colombian country, are going to say this very clear. We have the biggest problem right now. The big plantations of the cocaine. You told marijuana recreational, so we will not open a park so anybody go smoking marijuana there. This is recreational or not? No, that is wrong. Gentlemen, we have to say no, definitely no, because if you appreciate your kids, if you love your family, say no. Thank you.
Okay, that is it as far as the speakers who have signed up. Is there a motion? Oh, wait a minute. We have Liz Mayotte.
Good afternoon, everybody. I will keep it as short and brief as the last month that we were here. On behalf of the Islip Chamber of Commerce, we are asking you to opt out. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Do I have a motion to close the public portion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Public portion is closed. We will go to the agenda. Okay, the first item on the agenda, authorization supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding from New York State for a household hazardous waste state assistance program for calendar years 2026 to 2028. Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Authorization for the supervisor to apply for and accept a state grant in aid for a municipal waste reduction and/or recycling project and execution of the state contract for the years 2025 to 2027. Is there a motion? Motion. A motion by Councilman Guadron. Second by Councilman Gelway. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved. Item 3, Town Board authorization to clean up and secure properties in the town of Islip. Good afternoon, Jeff. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board, and the Town Clerk. Jeffrey Panache, Assistant Town Attorney, 655 Main Street, Islip. I do have 3 properties on for your consideration here today. Number 1, to demolish the main dwelling located at 170 West Bayberry Road in Islip. On this vacant property, there now exists an unsecured main dwelling that remains in a state of disrepair and neglect in that it has numerous structural deficiencies in the foundation and an existing hole in the roof that has allowed water to infiltrate the dwelling, causing structural rotting. After inspection, this main dwelling has been determined to be in imminent danger of collapse by our senior building inspector. This constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Thank you very much, Jeff. There's been a lot of conversations about this particular parcel, and I appreciate all the efforts that were made. I'm going to make the motion to approve. Second? Second. By Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved.
Number 2, to board up and clean up the premises located at 1132 Udall Road in Bayshore. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists windows on 2 dormers attached to the dwelling that are open, a front door that remains unlocked, windows on the west side of the dwelling that have broken glazing, and a broken basement window on the dwelling allowing access to its interior. At this property location, there also exist unsecured accessory structures, an in-ground swimming pool with an incomplete protective barrier, and the presence of overgrown vegetation and litter and debris, including household rubbish, garbage cans, metal sheets, cinder blocks, a discarded bicycle frame, and bicycle tires, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman McElway. Second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved.
And finally, number 3, to clean up the premises located at 1417 North Windsor Drive in Bayshore. On this vacant property, which was the location of a house fire, there now exists litter and debris, including burned wood, household furniture, and appliances, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises. This matter was on the agenda, as the board will probably remember, at both the May and June town board meetings, and the board tabled the decision on the matter for 30 days on each of those dates after individuals associated with the property address appeared in May and indicated they were attempting to get a demolition permit to allow them to demolish the existing remnants of the dwelling and rebuild at the location. The property manager has reached out to me again via email shortly before today and informed me that the paperwork required for the demolition permit has been filed and that they did get the letters and the approvals that they needed to file along with the paperwork. They are hoping to start the demolition work as soon as possible. I reached out to our building division today, and they did tell me that everything has been submitted and they are just waiting for our chief inspector to approve it.
So what is your suggestion then? Should we table this again or approve it?
At this point, I don't know if the board would be amenable to taking action on the resolution and voting, and we can, as we did with the property last month, I can hold it open and make sure that the demolition actually occurs. I would hate to have to go through all this process again,
Okay, so
but
then
that's
let's
up to
do
the
that.
board.
We'll keep it moving along then. I just want to indicate, I know you said drive, and the script says drive, but I believe it's Avenue, Windsor Avenue.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes,
So
I'm
I'll
sorry.
make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, item 4, the appropriation transfers. I know they've been reviewed. Are there any questions? Here, not motion by Councilman O'Connor. Second by Councilman Guadron. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 5, authorization for the supervisor to execute the home ARP grant agreement and any other documentation to the agreement and home ARP allocation plan. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadron, second. by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 6, authorization of town clerk to advertise for public hearing to amend the Town of Islip Uniform Traffic Code. I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 7, authorization for supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding from the United States Department of Transportation to develop a safety action plan and traffic calming demonstration project. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 8, authorization for supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding from the Suffolk County Revitalization Program for the Bay Shore Railroad Station parking lots. I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 9, acceptance of a deed from One Spectacular Home Limited in connection with 21 Brightside Avenue, Central Islip, for a corner radius dedication for highway purposes. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 10, acceptance of a deed from Brentwood Commons LLC for a certain piece of property located at 739 Suffolk Avenue, Brentwood, for 2 separate corner radius dedications. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 11, acceptance of a deed from 5150 Veterans LLC for property located along the east side of Broadway Avenue, Holbrook. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 12, authorization supervisor enter into agreements to accept funding from Suffolk County for the Youth Development Delinquency Prevention and Runaway Homeless Programs in the town of Islip. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 13, authorization supervisor enter into agreement with Suffolk County for Sports Opportunity Funding Services to accept funding for positive youth development and delinquency prevention programs. Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 14, authorization for supervisor to accept New York State aid pass-through funds from Suffolk County for positive youth development delinquency prevention programs. Motion? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 15, authorization for supervisor to enter into an agreement with Linda Weingarten, DBA Boho Art Shed, to provide assorted art workshops at Brookwood Hall. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor. I'll second that. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 16, authorization for supervisor to consent to a sublease by Verizon Wireless to American Christian Radio for certain town-owned real property located at 1500 Captree Island, Bay Shore. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 17, authorization for supervisor to execute an agreement with Energy Fencing, Inc. to reconstruct perimeter security fencing at Long Island MacArthur Airport. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 18, authorization for supervisor to execute the first option year to the contract with Hogland Energy LLC for on-call electrical repair and maintaining services. Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 19, authorization for supervisor to execute the option year for Bayport Aerodrome Inc., Aerodrome Society, Inc., for a period of 5 years ending November 30th, 2032. I'll make that motion. Oh, no, I won't. Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 20, authorization for supervisor to execute change order number 2 to a professional services agreement with Sky Energy LLC for the purpose of providing additional air service development. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 21, special events.
Madam Supervisor, I have an amendment to 21.
Yes, what is it?
I'd like
Do
to
you have
make
a copy of it?
We know what it is. We know what it is. Discussion on the amendment? Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second that motion.
Discussion on the amendment?
Go ahead.
Councilman McKelwey, you're on the Bay Shore Restaurant Committee,
Yes.
and tonight is the first night of Alive at 5.
The second, well, first one was rained out.
First one was rained out and rescheduled, so tonight is the first night of 3. I look forward to going tonight. I'm going to take my daughter for her 23rd birthday there to enjoy the wonderful downtown Bay Shore and everybody out in the street enjoying a nice street community event. Were you able to get all your paperwork in time to have that event?
The committee was, yes.
Yeah, the committee
I
was able to
formally
get
on the
all that
committee, I'm the-
paperwork in time to have that event. Okay. I mean, we had an application by a particular applicant to have a Spring Fest where we called the entire town board together for a special meeting to approve the Spring Fest that had been canceled on social media 3 hours before our special meeting. I'll approve the amendment.
So we have a motion and a second.
Don't we have to waive the procedures?
We had a motion to waive the rules, add
I need
them,
a
and
motion.
then we.
Okay.
I can make a motion to waive the rules to introduce the time-sensitive special events.
Yes. So, second.
Okay, so we have motion to waive the rules, motion and a second. All those in favor
Aye.
of waiving the rules? Now, a motion to approve the addition of this to
Second.
the special events calendar.
Second.
And then we will adopt the calendar as a whole with this addition that has been just added.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Thank you. So we now go to item 22.
Okay.
Acceptance of a donation from Holly Gordon for artwork to be displayed at select locations throughout the town of Islip. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman
Second.
McElway. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Item 23 of the bid awards. Again, I know they've been reviewed. Are there any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway. Second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Item 24 takes us to the option year resolution. Again, they've been reviewed. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor. Second
Second.
by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 25, meeting of the Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency. I'll make that motion to convene. Second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are convened. A quorum is present. Mr. Walzer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the agency board. John Walzer, Executive Director, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip, New York. I have several items for your consideration today. The first item is to approve the minutes from the meeting of this agency on June 10th, 2025.
Make a motion.
Motion
To approve the minutes,
to
second.
approve the minutes by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you. The next item for your consideration is an inducement resolution between the agency and Fifth XNY LLC, located at 1612 Fifth Avenue in Bay Shore. This project involves the development of a 241,000 square foot industrial warehouse facility on 21 acres of industrial vacant land. This project also represents a $97 million capital investment. Beyond the construction-related jobs, this project promises to deliver 115 permanent jobs. This project is speculative, meaning that there is not an end user or end users identified at this time. This project would represent a clear improvement from a land use perspective. This site most recently operated as a sand and gravel yard, and prior to that, it was a landfill.
I understand, Mr.
You have a
Walzer.
question?
Yes. I do.
Okay, Councilman.
I understand that there was a special agreement by the prospect developer of the project that if there is no a tenant within a specific time, then they would, please, can you tell us and refresh my mind as to what that agreement is?
Thank you. Well, if the board approves this inducement resolution, which is the first time you see the project and we discuss it, the next steps would be a public hearing followed by a final authorizing resolution. Prior to a notice of public hearing being published, the incentive package for the project need to be articulated,
And so you could expect our standard incentive package for a project like this with respect to mortgage recording tax and sales tax. And the property tax abatement would typically be where the increase in assessed value resulting from the construction of the facility is phased in over a 10-year period of time. I've talked to the developer and their counsel about the concerns that the board has with respect to spec industrial like this, and they have proposed not going ahead with the pilot after the development phase and going to full assessed value if there is not a tenant identified. But we would clarify all that between now, if we were to pass this inducement resolution and we get to the public hearing and final authorizing resolution.
So that language, which we would allow, I'm sorry, may I, Madam Supervisor?
Oh, absolutely.
That language would allow us to withhold the benefit of the pilot until the actual spec industrial project received a tenant. And the applicant for the IDA benefit has, in theory, agreed to that, but we won't know that until we have a signed authorizing resolution with them, correct?
So before we get to an authorizing resolution, we have to have a public hearing, and the notice of public hearing has to articulate the benefits in terms of the dollar amount for the sales tax exemption and the mortgage recording tax exemption, and the pilot schedule, if there's to be one. It has to all be written, and that's what the authorizing resolution you'll be voting on at the next time you see this project. And so we can discuss it. If we get to an agreement with the developer, and we think an agreement with the board, that's what we'll put down.
And the pilot would be paused until there was a tenant in place, so that we didn't have, like we have in other areas in the town, a giant behemoth of a building sitting there with no tenant that is receiving IDA benefits.
Well, we would have a project that would move forward.
That's not my question. Listen very carefully to my question.
Okay.
We wouldn't have a giant behemoth of a building sitting there vacant that is receiving IDA benefit. The IDA benefit wouldn't kick in until the building was tenanted.
In respect to the pilot, yes.
Thank you. So, John, I thank you very much for responding. I've been up here for 2 years speaking about the spec industrial, and I thought for sure nobody was listening. And thank you, and Brad, for listening. I really appreciate it, and I think this is a very good and creative solution. My problem isn't with you and the IDA. My problem really is more of a land use perspective, which when we put on our other hats, this board puts on their other hats, not as the IDA board, but when we approve change of zones and we approve land use applications. I fear for the greater community when we have these giant buildings out there that are just sitting there, unattended, no tenants, and not adding any benefit to the community, and built, and yet no possible use for repurposing a giant building like that. I view that as, it's not really for you. My comments are really more for the planning commissioner, that this is a problem, and I don't see it changing. I think, I will say this, it's just my 2 cents worth. I've talked to a lot of commercial, industrial, real estate developers. I've read a lot, including most recently the Q1 2025 Industrial Market Analysis by Cushman and Wakefield as it relates to spec industrial space, showing a 7% reduction in that particular space. I think what happened, and it's just my opinion, I'll challenge those members of the commercial development community to educate me. I like to be educated. COVID changed a lot of things for people, right? So my industry, we do things very differently after COVID. Instead of 6 people going to somebody's office with a court reporter and taking a deposition for 6 hours, we do it all remotely now. Tremendous savings on travel expenses, tremendous savings on convenience. The rest of the world embraces the idea of working from home. Go to any of one of our town parking lots on a Monday and Friday, and you'll see a very different picture of what you're seeing on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when people are commuting in. COVID changed things for people. It also changed people's retail habits. Before COVID, I wanted to go to the store and touch something before I bought it. And I think a lot of other people did. We were suspicious of going online and clicking buy, and then the next morning something magically appearing on our doorstep and us getting a picture to our phone showing us the delivery has been made. Since COVID, that has changed. And in response to it, I think the retail community went out and said, we're going to build all of these giant warehouses because everybody's going to now shop this way. Only problem is they didn't account for the fact that there is this thing out there called Amazon, and nobody can compete with them. And if you don't believe me, sit on my block and watch for an hour as 9 Amazon trucks make deliveries to every house on my block, right? So nobody can compete with Amazon, and these spec industrial warehouses that they thought they needed, they don't need. Because you know why? Amazon cut the middleman out. What they did is they went directly to the manufacturer, and the same product you can buy from Home Depot or from Lowe's or from Dick's Sporting Goods, you can buy directly from Amazon cheaper because they cut the middleman out. I don't know, maybe somebody will come along and develop a better mousetrap than Jeff Bezos. But until they do, I think these spec industrial sites are going to sit there as vacant warehouses, and us who are responsible for the land use of this town are going to be stuck with them. And the community is going to have to look at them, and we're not going to be able to find tenants. So I thank you for listening to me. I thank you for coming to a creative solution from the IDA's perspective. I challenge our planning commissioner to think about whether we should be approving these spec industrial sites that nobody is ever going to use.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you, John. Having listened to you say all of that, I have to say it sort of encourages me to go out there and advocate for our small businesses, because even though people are tempted to order online, they still do want to see the product. They still do want to touch it, especially when they walk into their neighborhood store and they're greeted by someone from their community. There's a relationship. So I think we need to focus on promoting small business. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Guardron.
Second.
Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have one in opposition. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. And the last item I have for your consideration today is a preliminary inducement resolution between the agency and Benchmark Senior Living, LLC, located at 117 East Main Street in East Islip. This project involves the construction of an 88,800 square foot, 90-unit senior living facility. This project represents a $63 million capital investment and promises at least 66 full-time jobs after completion.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Thank you.
Item 26.
I'm
that's
so all the business
sorry.
I have today. We want to adjourn?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman McElway to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next, item 26, Town Board approval to amend local law number 1 of 2021, a local law to opt out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site consumption sites as authorized under Cannabis Law, Article 4. Is there a motion?
Can I make a statement before the motion?
Certainly.
So I would just like to, we started this back in March, and then we had a hearing in April, and we've had people come in April, May, and June. Here we are in July. We've received emails in the public, and I will say that there were arguments on both sides of the issue in terms of you should allow this cannabis, you should not allow this cannabis, but the one overwhelming response between both sides of the argument is that we already have illegal cannabis happening in our towns, in our gas stations, in our neighborhoods. And I do believe that that concern and the concern of the safety of our children, which is always the first priority here, I would like to make a motion to table this until we can permanently work forward, get the illegal under control. I'm not saying that there's never a path for a legal operation, but at this time I think the wise move is to table it, work with our code enforcement, with the Suffolk County Police Department, with the DA's office to shut down these already illegal operations that are selling to children. And I'll make the motion to table.
Discussion on the motion, please?
Certainly. well, let me get the motion live. We have a motion and a second on the motion, Councilman O'Connor. The motion was made by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Lorenzo, to table.
Just a couple of observations. This was a wonderful, excellent, real exercise in civics. We're dealing with a state board of regents and people who talk about educating our kids that are talking about eliminating civics in our school. In fact, an organization that I'm very involved with called the New York State Bar Association has a special committee advocating that we keep civics education in our school. If you needed an education on civics, all you needed was to sit here in person and observe this exercise over the last 4 months. I want to congratulate my colleague, Councilman Lorenzo, for putting this resolution forward. It showed that there was a real need to have this discussion in this community. The community responded with passion. It responded with knowledge. It responded with energy and enthusiasm. 3 cheers to the Islip community and the way you comported yourself and conducted yourself over these 4 months. It was outstanding to see. I think that because of the advocacy, I think people who came into this debate have changed their opinions, whether it was because of your arguments or for some other reason. But that's the way government is supposed to work. That's the way this is supposed to work. So while I might not agree with everything, I think this was government at work, and I think it was terrific. One other observation I will say, as you sit up here and you just sit and you listen and you watch, and if you really listen hard, you learn a lot of things. You really can learn a lot of things about human nature and human conduct. There is a myth that I learned in this process which was dispelled. The myth is that people are afraid of public speaking. I public speak every day of my life. I have for 36 years. Before I go to court every morning, I read the file the night before. I am amazed at how many people, but they were passionate, but how many people got up to take the microphone, including as recently as today, and have not read the underlying legislation that Councilman Lorenzo worked so hard with our planning department on drafting. There was legislation behind this. It wasn't just about opting in. There was proposed legislation that nobody took the time to read. Somebody got up 7 meetings in a row advocating for us, a community leader, telling us not to bring it to their community, and had she bothered to read the legislation doesn't involve any dispensaries in that particular hamlet. Other people got up from both the industry and from those opposed, talking about cannabis sites, the actual use at sites. I wrote it down. It's called consumption sites. The proposed legislation bans consumption sites in the town of Islip, but a newspaper article appeared talking about consumption sites. People didn't read it. That's a little disheartening. But all of that said, I would like to see, after all of this great effort, I would encourage and counsel my colleagues that we vote on this matter. Let the chips fall where they may. Let your positions take hold, but the public, I think, deserves to know where everybody stands. I'm comfortable in taking that vote, and I would oppose the motion to table and instead think that we should all vote yay or nay today.
We have a motion and a second to table. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, so we have 4 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion is tabled. The next resolution is amendment, it's item number 27, amendment to the refunding bond resolution passed at the June 10th Town Board meeting. Are there any questions? Hearing none. Motion? I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? What? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Comptroller. I made the motion. Councilman Guadrone made the second. Roll call on the vote.
Madam Supervisor.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Guadrone.
Yes.
Councilman Lorenzo. Councilman McElway.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman O'Connor. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Go on.
Wow, you're not kidding.